Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show, we're bringing back Prince. How you doing, Prince?
I'm doing great. It's a lovely Tuesday. We're just making it happen. We're gonna do some 3D things and just figure out how all that goes.
I'm already having some hesitation because I've got Blender open in the background, and I don't know if everybody just saw those boops just go frame by frame.
Oh no.
I'm going to make a request to the chat, which is refrain from booping today because we're using every single. Let's see, my CPU is currently running at about 400%. So everybody, please be kind with the.
Oh no. Oh no.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So, Prince. For folks who aren't familiar, you've been on the show a few times, but maybe give us a little bit of a background on yourself.
I am a developer experience engineer over at a company called Netlify. I work with you. I primarily focus on what is known as templates. I help making the getting started workflow as smooth as possible. And then outside of that, really, I like to make things. And so most of that is both in websites, but also figuring out how to do 3D animation stuff. And so that's kind of a little bit about me.
Yeah. You've been doing some really fun stuff with, I've been watching you make little scenes in Blender and, some very, very cool stuff is going on. And it feels like there's been a bit of a wave of this. Like I've seen you doing it. Sarah Vieira has been doing a lot of this. Josh Como has been in Blender, just to name a few. And it's been really fun to watch this kind of creative, what's the word, like expansion? Like it's kind of an adjacent tech. It's not really not dev, but it's not dev. I don't know. How familiar does it feel to you moving from being like in an engineering space into the Blender space? Does it feel like there's a lot of crossover?
I think the new feeling of getting started with something that you've never done before, that kind of hit me really hard, where it's like, oh, you have to start all over. There aren't that many transferable skills to the interfaces, but understanding programmatically why do certain things need to be done a certain way, it gives me a much more appreciation to the software, where Blender, for instance, is a completely open source project. And I think that's something that's really fascinating about oh, why did they make these certain decisions? Well, you can actually see why, and the bugs that are made in the surface and whatnot. But as far as skills, I used to do, or still do, things with 3JS. And so some things about how to understand the 3D space are transferable. But as far as what web development stuff I can do, absolutely none of that. That is not, there's no transferable things for that, except for putting it onto the browser. I can do that part, but no, there needs to be a server hosted somewhere.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so I think the most famous thing that you ever see from Blender is usually let's make a donut or something, right? And so what I've seen as I've kind of poked around on this is that Blender is where most of the those 3D renderings that we're seeing, where somebody has made a cupcake that doesn't look like a cartoon. It looks like a computer drawing, like a Pixar drawing, right? That seems to be the space where a lot of this stuff is emerging. But Blender's used for a lot. So where have you kind of seen, I guess, as you've been learning, have you kind of noticed here's where Blender is being used, some spots that we might not be thinking about?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the times people use these types of renders, so the output that you get from whatever kind of modeling that you do, they actually use that into websites for backdrops. That's kind of a commercial aesthetic that has been really popular recently, where it's easier to make the 3D modeling as opposed to doing that 2D drawing in the same 3D space. But that makes it look kind of playful and fun. There's currently a lot of work being done with 3JS, which is another web GL kind of project. There's a tool called Spline, which is a web-based interface that completely lets you do 3D modeling, and that's also been very popular for animations. But there actually are even movies that are made completely with Blender. There's a movie on Netflix called Next Gen that is completely made out of models from
Really?
Blender.
That's
Mhm.
cool.
So it really is like a product that has grown and grown, and a lot of people used to consider like, oh, it's not a commercial product, but I'm very much here to say like it is a good product that is made by the hands of developers across the world. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've seen more and more 3D rendering showing up in, say, like what anybody who watches the show knows that I am accidentally a gear nerd, and so I'll go and look at like the camera gear, or a lens or something like that, and a lot of times they have like a 3D rendering that you can spin and look at of how this thing works. And now those are the kinds of things that I could build if I'm in
mhm.
Blender, right? Like I can go in and render it, and they look so, half the time I feel like I'm not even sure if it's a rendering because they look so dang realistic now.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe there's a question like all the way at the bottom, which is, what got you thinking that you wanted to make something in Blender? Like what got you to download it and try your first scene?
I think for me, it was uh, I never practiced how to do like 2D art. So for me, it's like, oh, how to do that is actually you have to kind of understand how like the 3D world works to kind of put it down into 2D. And I found that was really difficult. So I was like, what if I just tried 3D art and see what it feels like? And I was
Mm,
like kind of researching and being like, oh, to get more spatial awareness and spatial understanding, like the 3D space is something I live and breathe in every single day. So why not try to figure out how do you model that and then take it down back into the 2D space?
yeah. Did you find that's really interesting, because I would have immediately assumed like, oh, 3D is way harder than 2D. Did you find that 3D was more approachable for you?
For me, yeah, I found it was really
Wow.
approachable, partially because I found like I understood scale a little bit better. I understood how to do
Oh,
perspective a little bit better as well. And so it's kind of I don't know why it works that way for me, but like I couldn't understand how to translate objects into like primitives. So like things that are like base objects like a square or a sphere or any of those things, I couldn't understand how to do that in 2D space at all,
that's
which was it's interesting, huh?
that's so interesting. I mean, and it makes sense too, because like I wouldn't have thought about it, and this is just me putting my own experience bias in here, because like when I was a kid, I did a lot of drawing, and I took like art classes on how to draw in 2D. So my brain
Oh,
obviously goes, oh, like 2D is going to be easier, but really that's just because that's the thing I studied. But thinking about it the other way around, where like we exist in a 3D space, and like to look at, say, a mug, and then you say, okay, draw a mug, you have to do a lot of conversion in your head for what makes
yeah.
this 3D mug into a flat thing. Whereas if you're doing it in 3D, you just go, oh, well, okay, well, there's the cylinder, and then you knock the middle out of the cylinder. You can like spin it and look at it, and it looks three.
Mhm.
That makes a lot of sense. Huh, yeah, I wouldn't have thought about it
That
that
for
way.
me is like the process of how it worked. It's essentially like for me when I started seeing things in the 3D space, especially a mug, I really struggled with something like that in a 2D space where I was like, how do you draw the circle? Like, how do you
Hmm.
make it go further apart? People, and I don't know how people learn this, but I was like, 3D space makes sense. I know it's a cylinder. I just need to put a little hole in there and call it a day. And then adding the handle onto it is just another little thing that you just draw the line around. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got questions about the mug. So this mug says birds are jerks. And for anybody who's wondering why birds are jerks, it's because during Jamstack Conf 2021, last
Mhm.
year, we had this huge plan. I don't know if you saw it, but we did like a sitcom, and we had a set design and costume and all of these big things. And then the morning of the conference, a bird hit the transformer in the neighborhood and took down everything, like the whole electrical grid for 600 houses. and we had to like scramble to go get a truck and satellite internet and all these things to be able to get even part of the show, but we were actually only able to do about a third of the show that we had planned. So it was a very stressful day, and it's ever since then, birds are kind of jerks. So
Birds are
now
kind
we
of
have a
jerks.
strict no fly zone enforced around all future Jamstack comps. Is we just surround them all in mosquito netting. Get the heck out of here, you birds. But yeah, so that's fascinating because it really does make sense. And I guess my concept of 3D being harder is mostly just because I never tried any 3D software, and I guess also there might be some, like, the technology advanced to make it more approachable to do 3D, because I think when I was in high school, the only 3D that was available to me was like AutoCAD. And I did some
Yeah.
of that, but it didn't really, like, it never clicked for me, right? It was never like, oh yeah, I get this. I'm like modeling the real world. It was always like, well, I'm doing a lot of math, and I don't mind
Yeah.
math, but it's not my favorite, and it's definitely not the way that I do art. Like, math is not my artistic style. So actually, maybe that's another question, which is, what skills do you feel have been the most utilized as you're getting into Blender? Like, is it a lot of math, or like what are you using to kind of work with this tool?
That's a great question. And I think Blender allows a lot of it to just be like the visual part, but depending on like how complex you want to get into it, there's a lot of new tooling. So you kind of mentioned about like, software is upgraded over time. And like even like the last few months, in like the last 6 months, Blender's gone through a lot of revisions in itself. The
Mm.
interface is actually completely different since I started it as well.
Oh
And
wow.
so that's like a huge, yeah, like it doesn't, for the most part, everything looks the same, but like they did a visual overhaul over all of it. And I think for me, one of the newest features that came out is called geometry nodes. And this is basically all mathematical based computations,
Okay.
from like the coloring of how to do things, as well as like what if you want to put instances of objects on a certain location in a random set of locations across this render. So they have a lot of stuff that's no math, and if you want to get further in, incrementally in, you can add more math along the way. For
Hmm.
me at least, I found that I like to do a lot of the visual aspects more, and then like kind of add the details with the more mathematical stuff to kind of make it look more random.
Yeah, so a little more of your choose your own adventure here. It's not like you can
Exactly.
only do 3D if you're a math whiz or something like that. You can be.
Exactly.
Got it. And that's also cool because you said you can use the math to do like random things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so does this mean that, like, so I know from some of my past streams and other types of generative art, um, that you can write like a noise function that will kind of randomly assign different values and give you kind of a pattern, but it's noisy enough that it doesn't look like a fixed pattern. And so
Yes.
so when you're saying these geometry nodes, like you can do something like say put grass on a field and make it look somewhat random.
Exactly that. There's like
Okay.
you can essentially, the geometry nodes are a node based editor. So you have like these little things that you drop into the interface that basically say this represents the randomness. You can turn the dial to be certain amount of
Oh,
randomness or not, and you can connect nodes all to so it affects the object that you're trying to render. So, for instance, in your example of adding noise, you can change how much noise something looks. So, if you want something to look more textured, so it has different
right.
types of roughness, you can add that noise in to kind of make it more, it looks more organic in that way,
Yeah,
or
okay.
inorganic
So
depending.
that's actually really encouraging because I had thought previously that the way that people were doing these types of works is that they were just meticulously going in and individually making every blade of grass. And I was like, oh my God, what a patient person to go in and make these thousands of blades of grass. So that makes it feel like something maybe I could do. Well, because I know like oil painters, for example, right? They're
Yeah.
very, it's just meditative. They just kind of very meticulously go through and do the same thing over and over again, and it gives it this amazing feel, this very like deep humanity. but I don't have patience for that, right? Like I know that I'm never going to sit down in front of a 5-foot square canvas and draw 10,000 blades of grass to make this thing look real. Like I'm going to get bored at some point and just get a paintbrush and like roll green on it and be like, good enough.
That's the geometry nodes for you. That's
what,
basically
okay,
what
so that's what I'm looking for. So
you can do that.
that's my paint bucket. That's
Exactly. You can definitely do that. That's where some more of the math stuff comes in, where you kind of have to like know a little bit more about like how do you designate different points onto a particular plane. How do you put objects onto that particular part of the plane? So that's where the math starts coming in, which you might be like, oh, now I have to know math and make this look the way that I want to. But it's kind of interesting to learn how that all makes, like math is a part of art too. Like at the end of the day, like you can kind of take an appreciation to like, I know just enough to get like familiar with it, as opposed to like, I have to know meticulously like pi is significant in these ways. And for people who are watching this, pi unfortunately is significant in many ways into drawing that I didn't realize. That then you start having to be like, oh gosh, now I really have to learn stuff, physics and all that. Oh god. But most of the time they've solved that for you with the visual editor, so you don't have to do any of that.
That part is nice. Like one of the things that I do really like about the tooling that we get now as creatives, as developers, is that we're starting to see a kind of it's like assistive tech, right? Like we talk about this in front end as being low code, where it's not that you're not writing any code. You just have to do a lot less to make this stuff work. And I'm excited to hear that it's, the same sort of things are happening in art where, and I've seen a little bit of this, like, I used to do a lot in Photoshop, and I've seen some of the new things that have happened where like Photoshop has these AI filters now, where instead of you having to go in and select the outline of the thing and then very carefully do like brush replacement to erase that person in the background or whatever, which all are very challenging things, right? Now there's like Photoshop knows that's a common use case. You've got a picture of somebody and there's a rando in the background and you want to make that go away. So now you just click like the remove rando button and it just does that, right? Like I don't think that's what it's actually called, but
if you could like customize Photoshop that you could have your own little button, I'm certain you will have that button just like waiting for you.
Exactly.
In Blender, you can do stuff like that. You can just make your own little buttons if you wanted to, because it also does have scripting interfaces that you can get into. Python is another common language to use into it, so you can actually do more scriptable based pieces.
So that's really interesting. So now we're talking about it. It's a base level where it provides you with kind of the foundation for building this stuff. But then you, as you build your own workflows, can kind of make Python powered macros to do common tasks for you. And I've done that in other programming languages as well, like programming languages where you just write a function, or in like Photoshop you can put together macros, or you use something like Alfred on your computer where you say like, oh yeah, I want to take this thing, copy paste it, move it over here, you capitalize it all, and put it in my Obsidian or something like that, right? Like you get really okay, that's cool. Okay, so this is not just like draw a donut. This is like something that it's got a lot of layers and a lot of complexity in you can go as low code as you want, or no code by using just the visual interface. You can get into a little bit of code by doing some math, get the geometry in there, or you can go full on like scripted, like potentially procedurally generated scenes if you were to really go deep on this.
Exactly. I'm surprised you didn't go with like the layers. There's so many layers, like an onion almost. It was set up right there for you.
Dang it.
Or parfait.
A parfait, yeah. Oh man, I could go for a parfait. It's been a long time since I've had anything that it could be adequately described as a parfait. Like I remember when I was a kid, you'd go to Dairy Queen, right? And they had that, what was it called? The Peanut Buster Parfait, where it was like 19 layers of like caramel and then chocolate and then peanut and then caramel. And I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely the best thing. And that, now as an adult, I'm like, no, give me the one that's already mixed up. I don't want to stir anything.
I wanted to touch on one last thing that somebody had said in the chat, which is just talking about like the changes that are made in Blender. So like over time, there's different versions of Blender that come out. And different versions, just like in web development or in any development, there's breaking changes and there's like minor changes. And over the course of time, in the last few months, there have been a few breaking changes. One is
Okay.
we just recently went into 3.0. And right now, the latest release that happened maybe, I think, last week was 3.2. And between each of these major versions, sometimes it's the APIs change. It's like literally similar to web development. There's APIs that we use similar to the geometry nodes. That's the biggest reasons why certain breaking changes happen, where in the interface for that had changed. People were like, oh, that's cool. And so like everyone has to figure out like, how do you do that thing that you used to do in the last version, but now in this version? Generally, things don't move around too much, but sometimes shortcuts change or sometimes the interface is completely different, just to make sure everything can move forward. And like I said, it's all open source. So people are like, we have to keep up with making sure everyone knows what's going on.
Got it. Okay. So I feel like any other questions I have are going to be easier if we're looking at stuff. So maybe the next thing to do here is get us over into the pair programming view, or I guess in this case, the pair 3Difying view. So we are joined today by White Coat Captioning. We've got Diane with us today doing all the live captioning here on the homepage, learnwithjason.dev. She's from White Coat Captioning. Thank you very much, Diane. And that is made possible through the support of our sponsors, Netlify, NX, and Backlight, all kicking in to make this show more accessible to more people, which I appreciate very much. And we are talking today to Prince, who is on Twitter at twitter.com/Maxell. You can find Prince there for all sorts of goodness, and 3D renderings and all the things that you're working on show up there, which is a whole lot of fun. So we're going to talk today about Blender. Blender is it .blender.org? Okay. So we're going to be talking about Blender. Here is that. And I have downloaded it and I've got it running in the back here. But before I start trying to do anything in there, is there any other resource or anything that we should be looking at here? We'll go through a list of resources at the end for people who want to do self-guided learning. But like for me getting started, should I have anything open as like a reference or anything?
No, we're just gonna freehand everything. That's the beauty about art. You can sometimes just do that. You can just. We're gonna get familiar with the interface, and so I think doing a bunch of a lot of stuff will be helpful.
Love it. Brittany is giving me some crap about my CPU. I have the big one. Well, not quite. I have the M1. I didn't. The M2's out, and I didn't get one of those. But I'm trying here. Okay. So this is Blender, and all I've done for everyone to know how much Blender I've done in my entire life is I went to the Blender website, I downloaded it, I opened it, and then I hit the new scene button. And that is where we are.
And if you want to recreate that experience, you can go to File at the top left. And then New.
I just
and then
made this general.
Yeah, exactly. This is the base file. This is how it all starts. Ben D. Myers is saying into the chat, behold the cube. Every person who starts with Blender, this is their first experience with Blender, where it's literally like the cube. People will refer to it in tutorials as the cube because this is the base setup for every startup file. And most commonly, the next event that happens afterwards is people telling you to delete the cube. Because that's usually just they're like, oh, we can get rid of it. And then we're like, okay, we're going to add it back in. But yeah, we're going to delete it.
Okay.
So we're going to practice. You already did the very first thing, which is you highlight it and you click something, and that shows what is the current active element.
Okay.
So in Blender, doing any sort of modifications, you need to know like what is currently being selected. Clicked it, and to delete something, it's not very intuitive per se, but you can use X to like delete. And it's going to be like, okay, do you want to delete this? And you're going to tell it,
okay,
yes, it's okay to
delete.
It's going to always ask you for permission. But now, because we deleted it, and I want you to practice also putting things onto the screen, I'm going to show you where in the interface we're going to do it. But to talk more generally about this interface right now, this is called a workspace.
Okay.
There's different workspaces. At the top, you'll see a bunch of little tabs. One is called layout. So right past the little section, yeah. So layout, there's modeling, sculpting, UV editing, texture painting, shading, animations. Like I said, Blender is used for so many things. And depending what your workflow, what you're doing in Blender, you might not want to do all of those things. But layout is generally where we're going to see all the objects being added in and letting us know, like, this is what we're going to do. If you're doing animations, you'll be in the animation editor, but those workspaces are configured to have what you might need from Blender at that given time.
Yeah. And Adrian is asking, I want to know all the tricks for Magic Mouse users. It's going to be important for me because I'm using a trackpad, not a 3-button mouse. I can plug in a 3-button mouse if it's going to be a blocker, but I definitely don't have one hooked up right now.
I think you'll be okay. I think we'll be fine. Oh no!
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great, fine. Everyone.
So we're gonna go and add an object. So inside of the space, you're gonna see view, select, add an object. So yeah, perfect. We're gonna surprisingly go to add, and you can see there's different types of things you can add. Those are things like meshes, curves, surfaces, a whole bunch of stuff. Meshes meatballs is what we're going to do. Meatballs. Close. Close. That is a clip.
Okay. All right. I clearly have not had lunch yet.
Meatballs in a certain weird way, because what happens is if you put more of them together, they start blending together. No pun intended. They start being able to look like they're having like osmosis or whatever you want to reverse osmosis, where they're kind of mushing together. I don't know, sure. Science cell things. I tried there. There you go. You added a lovely cube back again.
Here we go.
You'll notice it's once again activated. It's selected. Anytime you want to add new objects, you're going to want to add it, but there might be a shortcut you might use. Blender is a shortcut heavy kind of tool. So we're never going to go and click the things moving for this, partially because it's too much mouse movement. We want hands on the keyboard to do these things. And we try to make sure to put them in context. So we'll delete it again with X. Perfect. And then we're going to do Shift A to add.
Oh.
And you'll see the same menu pops up. You can do all the different types if you want. You can add a different thing if you want.
Let's add a different thing.
We're going to add something else.
Circle. Oh.
Circle's very uninteresting. Circle. Wait. Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Should I put it back?
We're gonna. Yeah. Let's do a UV sphere instead.
All right.
I'll let you we're just adding things. We're just playing around. We want to be familiar. And I think that's one thing I want to call out to people who want to learn Blender is there is a lot to the interface. There's a lot of little things, and you don't even learn everything at once. And I think that's similar to programming, where it feels like you have to learn everything at once. There's so many keywords, there's so many little things that you feel like you have to memorize. And like it's very important to not try to do that all at once. I'm a big workflow type of person. And so workflows are really important because the more that you accrue over time, the less you'll have to be like, oh, how do I do this thing? How do I add something into the scene? You need to be able to know how to do that. And knowing that is like a technical skill at that point. Not in the sense of coding, but like a technical in the sense of like, I need to remember the technique.
Well, and something that I've talked about in the past, and I think you and I have actually talked about this as well, is that there is mechanical skill, and then there is like artistic skill. So like one of the things that's really challenging is for a lot of folks when they start learning a new skill, they I think Ira Glass has put it as like your taste outstrips your talent. And some of the time that's because you have a better understanding of what is good than you have of the mechanics of making good things exist. And this is actually a huge blocker for me. Like I don't use Vim because I can see what code should look like, but I don't have the mechanical knowledge of keyboard shortcuts and different key combos and what Vim is capable of to actually make the things, right? So I use something like VS Code that gives me a whole bunch of preferences, and I don't have to learn the mechanical stuff. I just get to go. And I think that, that's the same reason that like 3D has intimidated me is that when I look at this, there are so many mechanical things I don't know that I can't get into a flow state of just creating things. Um, and why like 2D drawing feels more approachable to me is that when I was a kid, I took all the classes about how to do the mechanics of 2D drawing, so I don't have to think as hard about like how do I make this thing look like it has perspective, and instead I can just play and try, right? And so that mechanical learning is the hardest part of the learning curve, but it's also the most critical, because it's what keeps us like from being a musician. If you can just sit down at a piano and play, and your fingers do what your brain wants, it's way more fun to play piano. Than if you every time you want to make a note, you have to look at it and like get on the computer and look up what the chord looks like and then put your fingers in the right place and ding. Okay, now you played one note. Now to get the next one. So yeah, basically all of that to just strongly reinforce what you're saying about the mechanics of this, like learning how these pieces fit together and what buttons do what things is so critical to being able to be creative.
Exactly. And the opposite side, I found this to be creative because I could just put things into a scene and just call it what I see as art. Because I think one of the things that it turned for me is I didn't realize that like, art is just literally how you like. I don't know. I didn't realize. I have never learned how to appreciate art, but like art, as I've been doing more of 3D, it's like, oh, now I understand why people really enjoyed this experience of one, not only making it but also perceiving it, and like what it means to them. And I didn't really get it at first, and now I'm like, wow, this is like there's so much depth into it.
Yeah, yeah. This is really, I'm excited. Okay, so I've made my meatball. No, I made a sphere.
You made a sphere in this one.
Okay.
So now we're just going to try to move the sphere.
All right.
So we're doing little practices, right? Or we have it selected, and this is usually where people try to close Blender, because you did exactly what I thought you were going to do, and that's not a bad thing. I didn't want to prompt. I wasn't looking for you to fail here, just to be clear. But this is exactly what I did too, where I'm like, how do you move it?
Yeah,
is it not with the mouse?
That's not doing what I think.
The thing about Blender is the mouse doesn't move the object itself. Now, the way we need to move it is using another set of keys. So on the left side of the workspace, you'll see a bunch of icons. So you'll see like all these. These are different tools you can use. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're just in the select mode. And in select mode, that just lets us select what object we care about trying to focus on. But if you go to the third one, you'll see the like kind of arrows. Yeah, that's the move one. If we click on move with the mouse, and you'll now see these little, they call them gizmos. And now you can start moving things in the space. And you'll notice like your cursor can go across the screen. So like if you toss it up, it'll go all the way loop. You can do that forever into infinity if you want to.
Oh, fun.
And then you're like, oh gosh, where'd it go? Very normal, very fine. And if you're like, let's say you hate what you did with it, you're like, I don't like it. You can Command Z, you can undo it. There's an undo feature inside of Blender. Very important.
I feel like I'm gonna need that a lot.
Difference between this is probably the biggest reason of why I didn't like physical art. Is I was like, I hate making quote unquote mistakes.
Right.
Physical art, I can't undo an action. Here, I can undo as much as I'd like to. So when you're like, I moved it over here, but now I'm like, I don't know about that. You can just say, nope, undo.
Oh,
I don't know what you just pressed for that one.
So I was just looking. I was looking here. They show shortcuts. So it says like shortcut is Shift Spacebar G, and like this one was Shift Spacebar B, and it looks like if I hit Shift Spacebar, it shows me a bunch of stuff, and then I can like go back B, and now I'm in select mode. G, now I'm in move mode. Okay, all right, we're learning things.
Yes, now you have all of them. So you learned about G is a way to move it as well. If you select an object, you press. Oh no!
I did a thing. Okay, G.
And now G.
Now okay.
You saw the cursor change.
Oh, I just like hold it. Nice. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But let's say you're like, okay, I want to move it, but I don't want to move it, I want to move it on a specific axis.
Right.
You can do G and then Y, So they even stack certain things, and you'll notice the green axis is now highlighted fully. So you can
Okay.
now only move it across a specific axis as well.
Gotcha. And then if I hit Y again, does it
And
change
if
the axis?
I don't know, let's try it. It removes it. But let's say you want to move on everything that isn't Y. This isn't one of those creative ones. So if you were like, I hate the Y axis, I don't want to ever see it again,
Oh.
you can do Shift Y. So everything but Y is what that means. And now you can move on every other axis except for the Y axis.
Okay. All right. So that wasn't making sense to me until I just saw this happen. But like, can everyone see what's going on here? Where I am on, like, it's moving along the up and down and left and right, but it won't move backward. That's cool. Okay.
Maybe do Shift Z is another way to do it. So you can see it moves only on the flat surface and not up and down.
So like this would be if we were trying to like we had a stage, right? And we have things that we want to move around like furniture. We could put it on this plane, no Z, and that way everything is touching the stage, but we can arrange the furniture around the room.
Exactly. That is exactly why you would do something like that. Because everything will start in the crosshair that you see up in the middle of the screen. It has that little crosshair. That's the cursor, is formerly known as. You can move that around anywhere, but every object will always start there. So you want everything to be in the same level, and so it's very helpful there.
Okay, that's cool. And then I figured out so if I hit G, right, I'm freeform. And if I hit Y, I'm on the Y axis. If I hit X, I'm on the X axis. And if I hit Z, I'm on the Z axis. So you just tell it where you want to move it. Okay, all right, this is making sense. I'm understanding.
See, you're putting it all together. Like I said, it's a very shortcut heavy thing. But if you're ever like, oh, I don't know how to do it with the shortcut, the gizmo we did before, which is the move tool, this was really helpful as well. The third tool is the move tool, and you can do all of that again. So if you're like, oh, the Z axis, that's the blue arrow, and then the X is the Y arrow. The green arrow, red arrow. Words are hard. Or Y is the green arrow. So you can move all of them the same way.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Okay, so now, yeah, I get it. Now I'm just
and
clicking.
You'll notice the kind of squares on the side of the object. That's similar to moving it across certain axes, but not other axes. So that's
look at
the
that.
Shift Y, for instance.
Gotcha. Okay, all right, that makes sense. I'm with you.
All right, so we have a nice little object here that is kind of small. What if we wanted it to be a little bit bigger? The fifth tool on the side there, if you kind of move around the you'll see scale. And if you press that, scale is name on the tin. If you try to use any of these little things, you can scale by that particular axis. Now you have a little stretched ball or a squished ball.
A little pancake.
A little pancake. Oh my God, we can make pancakes.
Ooh, all right.
Do you want to make pancakes? I like pancakes. That's pretty cool. So okay, so you're probably thinking to yourself, this is a little hard to see. We're kind of far away. We wanna. Oh, I guess you could just make it big. That also solves the problem. We have now made giant pancakes. I don't know how much flour we used to make this. I hope that it tastes okay.
This is a gluten nightmare.
This is why I have found Blender to be very fun, because you could just have fun and you could just make things, quote unquote, mistakes, happy accidents in this case. You figured out you wanted a pancake, and all of a sudden you have a pancake.
Oh, and Jacob is saying it could also be because it was a meatball when it started. Now it's a smash burger. Uh-oh. We making smash burgers today?
I'm waiting for a smash burger. Is that what you want? We can do it.
Maybe we make this a smash burger. And that'll be good, because to do that, we have to come up with a handful of shapes, right? We got to do a top bun, a bottom bun. We've got to do the patties. And then we'll also need we would need to put sauce on the patty somehow, kind of have a thing that follows the surface of another thing. And that could be a good way to get through some stuff. How are we doing on time? We got 45 minutes.
Let's do it. Okay. I think we can get all the way to the buns. We got the patty. condiments. I think we can do this all. So we've
Let's do
practiced a
it.
bunch of different things. The last thing you might care for is rotation. We probably aren't going to
Yes.
rotate it, but I think it's important to at least practice it. So before the scale tool, you're rotating the view. So like that, the gizmo on the right hand side, the top right hand side there that you're playing around with, that's what allows us to control the viewport. So
Yes.
that is not what the camera is going to render out to us, but rather this is like us being able to see the entire 3D space.
You actually just, I think you may have answered a question, which is I just noticed this little buddy over here. Is this the
Yeah,
camera?
that is the camera. So by default, the startup file has a simple object, a square or a cube to be technical, a light, and then a camera. And if you're like, okay, what does it look like right now when I render it out? There's a camera right underneath that gizmo. You see the magnification lens, the hand, and then the camera that lets you actually see what it's going to look like when we render it out to the screen.
Gotcha.
So when we're ready for our rendering, our final product, this is what it's going to appear as a nice floating gray disc.
Got it. Oh, and then this is our light here. This. Got it.
And if you, right now, you'll not notice the lighting happening because in this mode, this view mode, we don't get any access to light. That you're playing with the controls and I don't know what it's going to do to our light. I'm very excited to see, but let's say we wanted to see what it looks like. I told Jason before we started this stream, in order to make sure Jason doesn't crash the stream, we want to make sure not to go into certain viewport shading. So at the top right of this view, there are a few little buttons we can press. The first one is a wireframe. So if you click on that one, it's going to show us all the edges and vertices inside of our object. This is really helpful because sometimes you want to know if things are in alignment, and lines are really helpful. If we want to go into like the technical terms about like how 3D rendering works, like everything needs to be told like what point into the universe it is, and then we need to eventually tell it what kind of like layer on top is it, and that's what's called a mesh. So this beautiful disc is what it really looks like. There's a lot of faces on it. Anytime that there are these edges connected, that's what's making what is known as a face. And sometimes you might want to move faces, you might want to move vertices, you might want to use edges, and that all goes back into shapes. So you can just move points, vertices, or lines, edges, or whole faces, which is 4 or several edges together.
Got it.
But let's go into the next one. So that's the one we were just in, and the one right after that. This one is just like showing us the model without color on, and then this one that we're currently in is the one with color. Let's say we wanted to add some color. This is what we're going to add a material for. And this is where it's going to get interesting because I'm going to now describe how to get to a material. So let's say, I love that you're playing with the lighting.
I don't know what it's, I actually don't know if it's moving is what I'm confused about.
So right now you're scaling it. I don't know if the light scales. This particular light may not do anything like that.
Oh, that would make sense.
But you can change the type of light that it is.
So
if you wanted to play around with the lights.
Got it.
So let's change the light. There on the right-hand side, on the top right, you're going to see what's known as the outliner. That's what's going to say what are the objects in our shape. And then in the bottom side, you're going to see a list of other configurations that we can do. And one of those is a green light bulb. That green light bulb is a configuration we can do for our light. And if we're like, oh, what kind of different lights do we want? Well, there's a sunlight, a point light, and these kind of translate to different types of lighting sources that you'll have as well. Depending on if you're familiar with like photography, this kind of all has similar aspects into it. But let's say we wanted to give a plane. So let's do Shift A.
Shift A.
Into the scene. Yep, Shift A. And then let's go back to Mesh. And let's add a plane.
Okay.
And the plane is a flat surface. It's just that. Let's leave it back in the center and let's scale it with S. S for scale.
S for scale. Nope. S for scale. There it is.
And now you're making this beautiful, beautiful table for us for our little burger. I really, really want to render it so badly. I just want to see what happens, and I know we shouldn't. But wait, so I'm gonna we're gonna try it. Okay, but before we click the button, there's some things we can test. Wait, don't click the button. There's there's a screwdriver and a wrench
Screwdriver
on
and a
that
wrench.
side of the right
Here.
where we saw the light source. No, that one.
Okay.
And then there's an LCD screen for the camera, the one right below it.
Here.
Cool. That's what we want. So notice here the rendering samples. This is how many pictures it's basically going to take to say what is it supposed to look like. You'll also notice there's the tab that says rendering engine. Do not click this. The rendering engine is what I was mentioning before. If we change our rendering engine from Eevee to Cycles, Cycles is another type of rendering, which it does ray tracing on. That's when it can do a lot of computations for you. Eevee does not do as many computations, but because I can hear, I think maybe your fan spinning. I don't know how well this is going to work, but we're gonna try it. We're gonna see. So we're gonna click on the last render sending. That's the one.
Okay.
And everything's kind of dark. Let's click on our light source.
Let's click on our
That's
light
a little sun.
source.
Inside of the view, there's going to be that little light lamp. Yeah, that's the one. Now you're going to click on the little light, the green light. Perfect. But now your light is not doing anything. That is weird.
Oh, okay. I think I moved.
There you go.
I moved something, and I don't know exactly how.
Oh, the size of it is small. So let's do Control Z. And let's do it again. Okay. And then you'll see, let's go back to area light.
I think I messed with it a while back, so I'm not 100% sure what I did.
We're gonna see. So you'll see the size X and Y. Let's make the size bigger. Let's keep doing that. You may have told the poor light it doesn't know what it's doing anymore.
I think I might have like fully busted it.
This poor little light.
What did I do? I'm sorry, buddy.
It's fine.
Yeah, maybe we need sunlight today because that's actually going to give us
sunlight
something.
is fine. Sunlight is very strong right now, so we can turn the strength of our sunlight down. Back in that, see, look, you can see the shadows being cast on it as well.
I got it.
It's very difficult to tell there's anything in there because everything is really white. And instead of dragging it down, you can actually type in here. So you can do something like, let's do like 2. And that's 200.
Oh, there we go.
So
okay.
See, it's a simple light. It's a little simple light. The UV is way too high, as Talsdev says. What we're gonna do is we're gonna give our little pancake smush booger some color. Right now it's gray and a little uninteresting. So if we go towards you'll see where the green vertexes are. If we scroll down a little bit further there, and you'll see right underneath it is this like ball that's material properties. If we click on that, this is how we give our little pancake smush burger some color. We're gonna need to add a new material. So we're gonna click on that plus button. Yeah.
There it is.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Cool. And then you'll see there's different things inside of here. There's a lot of configurations you can do, but the one that we're really gonna care about is the base color. That's what it's gonna tell it, this is the color you're supposed to look like. And you can already see in real time the colors changing for us. And it uses things like RGB, HSV, and hex. So things that you're familiar with inside of like CSS, it can use.
Got it. Okay, so
this is do things like saturations as well.
Yeah, this is looking burgery. We'll stick it there. That
chat. Let me know if this looks like a burger real quick. Is Sarah in the chat here? Is this what a burger is supposed to look like?
Look, we didn't make a bucket of water for Sarah to feel confident that this is a burger.
Oh my gosh.
Well, if we're making Sarah's burgers, we will have to like add some fish and bubbles around here.
Fish and bubbles. Now you have the skills to 3D model what the burger will look like, Jason.
Oh.
If you'd like.
You hear that, Drasner? I'm
I'm
coming
giving
for
him too
you.
much power. Let's add a top button, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah, let's do it. So Shift
So with a
A.
top button, yep, perfect. We can do basically, like I mentioned before, we can use all the different primitives shapes that we have to kind of just change them around. And so for me, I probably would just use like a UV sphere again.
Okay.
And that's generally something you can do is you can just start with the objects you're familiar with and you can just start scaling them apart or tweaking them a little bit to get what you want. So in our
Mm-hmm.
case, we might just scale all of it together. So the white circle would be like what I would choose just to rescale everything. But we kind of want to match it to the top. I'll let you figure out how much extra fluff there needs to be burger wise because
Yeah, let's.
I can't. I don't really know what a smush burger looks like yet.
Okay, so let's go here and we'll kind of scale this up.
Mm-hmm.
I think
You
these
might
are
be like, oh, I
also.
can't see quite if it's aligned. That gizmo that you had before, on the right side, there is an X, Y, and Z. And if you ever click on like the circles that says X, Y, and Z,
Oops.
oh, don't do that. To the right side where it has like the little thing that turns the camera, you can actually click on those, and that'll
Oh,
give you the perspective of just the flat view.
nice. Okay. So this shows us that I have gotten these out of alignment. So I can. Is there like a line up button, like a center these on each other?
Mm, there, there are, but I'm not certain if that will move it further. We can try to, let's click that again. Go to, let's do object, and then
Object.
let's go to snap, and then let's do snap selection to cursor.
Oh,
So that's going to
perfect.
move it probably a little bit down.
No, this is great though.
Oh,
This
so,
this gives us
oh, oh,
gives us almost everything that we wanted. So I can take these two pieces then, and then I can move
oh, look at
them
you.
up.
You already see that you can move them. Okay, I didn't even tell you that. Look, multiple selections. You can do that too.
Okay, so then I've got my burger
Mm-hmm.
bun, and then we can do like
Mm-hmm.
a squish. It's
Okay.
kind of bun looking, and then we can maybe do one of these to make it a little bit bigger,
Okay.
about like so.
I like it.
Okay, now I want to cut it in
All right.
half.
Okay, we want to cut it to half. Let's click on the green Y circle again that I mentioned before. I'm gonna call that the gizmo. That
Okay,
that that is a little gizmo for us.
that's our
We're gonna try
gizmo.
to zoom in because we kind of want to get it right. Yeah, look at you. Who needs a middle mouse button when you can do it by hand like this? I didn't even need to teach you how to do that. You already knew.
I
Boom.
had a suspicion.
So I mentioned before, there's different views that you might want to have. In our case, we're actually going to go to the wireframe view, and you can press Z, just Z, and that will let us be able to
Oh,
do
nice.
that
Okay.
as well. And what we want to do is just cut our little old circle a little bit. We
Mm-hmm.
might need to zoom in a little bit more to get the accuracy correct. So let's just zoom in a little tiny bit more. Perfect. And what we're going to do is we're going to press, I want to say // the one that is the question mark.
Got it.
And that what this does is it focuses just the object that we care about. So you'll notice the pancake, I mean, smush burger is no longer there. The thing is
Yeah.
no longer in front of us. So we can just focus on this.
Okay.
And we want to grab a certain set of lines that probably
Yes.
the middle section. So you can click on a line. Oh, actually, this is actually something I've totally skipped on a while back. Right now, there's different modes. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, we're in object mode, and we need to go into edit mode. And edit mode lets us move through the different lines. So before, we could change the entire object, but now we can take parts of our object. We can click on the vertices or the edges of our object, and we can delete them if we want to, or we can split them apart and whatever we want. In
Okay.
our case, let's just do half of our burger. Let's just take it, and that could delete the edges if you want. And so you can do X, And this is where we will decide, we will delete either vertices, edges, or edges and faces. Let's just do vertices. And now you got
Ooh.
2 burger buns.
Okay, and so if I nice. Okay, so then I can let's go back to object mode. And now are these separate
And you probably want to
things?
see
Oh,
they're
they're
not. And
okay.
that is a great question, because right now that's one of the more notable things. If you ever do anything in object mode or edit mode, you need to be careful about like, oh, do I want these as separate objects or do I want them together? So let's go back to edit mode real quick.
Edit mode.
And let's select all the bottom. Perfect. And let's rotate real quick just to make sure that we got everything selected. Because the worst thing that can happen is you select some things, you don't select the other things.
Oh yeah, like you leave like just a couple of these out.
Exactly. The view we have right now, it lets us do X-ray, so we can actually select through our object. And what we're going to do is we're going to do P. Press P.
Separate.
And this is going to be separate, and we're going to separate by selection. And you'll notice in the top right in our outliner, you'll have a sphere 001 or a sphere 002. And what this does is it basically says here are 2 different objects from our selection.
Yes.
And what we'll want to do is we will want to go out of edit mode, back into object mode. And if you ever want to do that faster, you can press tab, and that will let you select.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Easily into object mode by default. If you want to change that at any point, you can as well. But now you have 2 different objects, a top button and a bottom button.
Perfect.
And you probably are like, oh, I don't like looking at the wireframes anymore. So let's press Z again. And let's go back to solid.
Okay.
And then let's press the slash again, just to make sure we see our little burger.
There's our little burger. Okay, so we have a couple things that... So the first thing that I'd probably want to do at this point is I'm noticing like this is more round and like this is more round on the bottom. So if I want to like smush this piece down so that this bun is like flat at the bottom, how would I flatten the bottom of this this shape?
I love that. So let's do that. Do you also want to put faces on your burgers, like so they look like buns?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So let's press tab real quick.
I have tabbed.
We're only going to be selecting this one. To select an entire ring of things, this is a secret trick. It's not really that secret. You can use the option select, or you can do that. But option right now, select. If you look, option click on the line.
Oh.
So you'll notice how that
got the whole thing.
Ring, what it does is it gets the whole line around to get to connecting. So you can do that in different versions as well. And right now we want a new face on our handy dandy thing. So to make a face, you press F.
F for face. Hey, look at that.
F for face. And look at that. You got a nice little face. Beautiful. And if we want to
do the same
the other one, you can do the same thing.
Option click.
I can do that exercise.
Oh, wait, I need to get out. Do I have this locked somehow?
So what happens is if you edit mode into an object, you have to go to object mode and then edit mode for the other thing.
Ah, got it. Okay, so option.
So it locks you to only focus on one thing.
Yep. F.
Look at that. Beautiful. Ta-da! Look at this 3D modeler out here making his first 3D model. We love to see it.
Feeling pretty good about this.
It's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty smush so far. If we go back into one of the buttons, whichever one you want, in our case, we need to go back into edit mode.
Okay.
And maybe we go and find the center point of our bun.
Like here.
So towards the bottom. Oh, yeah, we can do that too. That probably works. And let's say we want to scale it. We want to proportionally scale everything around it. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to press O for proportional scaling. That's going to turn on, if you look at the top center of the workspace, you're going to see like this highlighted like standard deviation thing. I wish I had better words for this. So notice where it says global.
Here.
Okay, so if you move your cursor a little bit over, you'll see this bell curve.
Bell curve.
And if you click on the bell curve, there's different ways to do the proportional editing. This one
Okay.
is smooth, but if you want to do randomness or anything like that, um, that's something you can customize how you want to edit. So
Okay.
now when we move things around, it's going to move other things proportionally to it smoothly.
Okay. Okay. So then if
Before,
I
it wouldn't move anything at all.
right, so now if I come in here and I like click this, nope, it does nothing. You
So, yep, perfect. And
move.
yes. You'll
Okay.
notice everything is moving proportionally together, and so that moves like
Okay. All right, just let me
your
let me
burger
undo
now
all of
has just
that.
just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's say we go towards the top part of our bun because we want the top to move inward, right? It's maybe the bottom of our bun is what I should say in your perspective. In my mind, I'm thinking the bottom. Oh, okay, I guess that works too.
So what I'm kind of picturing is like if we take this bit here and so I'm gonna have to fix this because what I really want is like the bottom bun is gonna be actually, you know what I should do is we should like cut this
Don't forget you
off and
can.
then put a new face on it because then
And
we
how
would
do
be
we can do all that? We have the power to do that.
we
We've
have
practiced
the
all of these
power.
things.
Okay, so I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna get all of these. I'm gonna delete them.
Remember, we're not okay.
No? How would you do it?
Remember, we're not in X-ray mode right now. So you're right. We just need to make sure we select all the faces, even the ones we don't see. So we press Z,
Z for wireframe is X-ray.
the wireframe, and that should make sure that gives us the wireframe, and then we make sure that it's all selected. We
Got
always
it.
test our things before we do it. Otherwise, we're going to see a random face, and we want to get the vertices. In this case, yep.
Okay, so
And then we
then
can
I
press Z
can
again.
center up. Well,
Mm-hmm.
don't I need to get all these for the face?
You can do that too. You can do it. You look at you.
Okay, I think I did it.
Shortcut
Solid?
magic over here. And now we're looking at the plane, but look at
Okay.
that. We got a
All right.
nice look.
Okay.
This is a very nice looking burger. We did no practice whatsoever about Blender. So this is Jason learning in real time how to
Okay.
make a burger with 3D modeling tools. We love to see it.
And then I've got the it's still moving proportionally with me, so if I option click
Yes. Mm-hmm.
do one of
Mm-hmm.
these and then maybe I option click and do one of these. Come on, cooperate. There we go. All right, that's looking a little bun like. I mean, we'll have to smooth
That
that
is
out a bit, but
a pretty solid bun. I'm not gonna lie. Like I really didn't expect. Like I told Jason before. I was like, I think you have really good spatial like technique. Like I think you'll pick this up really quickly, and he really has. Like I didn't need to tell him anything. He just already knew once he had told him the commands. He's running with it.
okay, so if we do this, then we should be able to do the same thing for this bun, assuming I can. How do I select again? What have I done? Object mode, edit mode.
Okay, so
I'm gonna go here.
So you're in the edit mode of the meat right now. Is that what you want?
Yeah, because what I want to do is make the meat similarly like flat on the top and bottom, so that we have the kind of burger shape, right? That's okay. I need to get one more line. Get out of here. There we go. That seems right. And then if I take this line and do a face, and this line and do a face, and then we'll come out to solid. There we go. That looks good. And then I wanted
masterful burger work.
Right? I mean,
this is a really good looking burger so far.
Okay.
It's a pretty good looking burger.
We'll need to do a little bit of work around like I don't know how to round now that I've chopped these. I'd want to round them a little bit. And I don't know if
you want to round them? We can do that.
Okay, let's try to round the bottom of this bun because I want this to feel a little more like, you know, organic.
Okay. You can let's try one thing. So sometimes you'll notice there's a lot of faces right now, right? Or it's like kind of like squarish. If you right click on the object,
okay,
you'll see there's different types of shading. There's shade smooth and shade flat. We want to try shade smooth.
Ooh,
and that kind of
okay.
gives it more of a smooth looking thing. But
Uh-huh.
if for right now, let's put it back to smooth flat, just so we can get the right angles on it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's right. Oh, perfect. And you want it to have more of a roundedness. So
Right.
what we could do is we can click on the object. Let's tab into object edit mode, and then let's try adding a bevel.
And do I
Let's
like click on this to add
see.
the bevel, or do I leave it unselected?
Let's select it.
Okay.
Select where you think you want it to be round. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. And let's do Control B or Command B.
B?
Mm-hmm.
Did I do it?
And it might not look like
Oh
it's
wait,
doing anything,
Command
but
B.
keep kind of.
I hit Control B and Command B. Now I don't know what I've done. Holy
No,
buckets!
you made the bevel. So right now this is going to be interesting because I usually use them. Oh wait, don't. Okay, don't click it. Notice in the
I'm
bottom.
gonna undo what I've
Oh,
just done.
oh.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'm
So do it
Command
again.
B. Here we go. How was I? There it goes.
Perfect.
There we
Like
go.
get the distance that you want for it. Yeah, perfect.
Like that.
And press the left mouse. Perfect.
Okay.
And so what we're doing is we're making sure that everything is going to go well. In the bottom left, you'll see a little thing that says bevel. And we want
Yeah.
to expand that menu by clicking on it. And the reason why I wanted to call this out is by default, whenever you do any sort of movements or anything, or you create new
Ooh.
objects, these are like some preset definitions that you can do, or you can edit the customization. But you could only do this when you first make the thing. And you'll notice you kind of started playing around with the segments.
Uh-huh.
And so you can make the segments a little bit more. So add some more segments that gives it that more rounded effect. If you want the width of those segments to be bigger, you can change that as well. So it kind of gives you a little
Oh,
bit
I
more
got it. Okay.
customizations along the way.
Yeah. Okay. So that's fun, and that kind of does what we wanted. I'd probably do that a little bit differently if I was going to do it again, but I'm happy for it for a first try.
Yeah. And then we go back into object mode
Back into
by
object
pressing
mode.
tab. Love that. And look at that little burger bun.
Okay,
And then move things
now
down.
I'm gonna duplicate you. Copy,
Ooh. Oh, look
paste,
at you.
and then I
Look
want
at
to
you using
move.
commands.
No,
So
I said
G.
move. G, that's the one. Then I need you to go down. Now we've got double smash burger. Ta-da!
Double smash burgers, y'all. Double smash burgers. And right now, it's a gray looking burger. So let's go back into the material preview. And you'll see here we got these two buns, and you'll notice it copied over the material as well
Which I
for
love. That's
that
very
patty.
nice.
Yeah. So by default, that's what's going to happen. Is it's going to do that. They're not linked together, meaning like if you change one of them to be smaller, they're not going to do it. But if you change their color,
Right.
since they're using the same material, both of the colors will change.
Right. So
And I
now
love
we
that you're
can kind
already
of
adding a
go.
new burger. If that was a burger handed to me where it was yellow like that, I would not be eating it. Just letting you know. Just letting you know.
That's a good bun color. Let's go with that. And then is
Perfect.
this the sort of like, can I
And
take this material and just drop it on this one?
you actually can. You can drag. You can actually click on it, hold, and drag it.
Click.
Oh, did you click on it? Should have worked.
Hello?
Maybe not. It's fine. Let's click on the button instead.
Bun.
And then you'll see that material thingy there that you were just hovering over it, the little circle. Yeah, and you can just select it.
Got it.
And now it has the same color.
Look at
Look
that.
at that burger. That's a pretty solid burger, if I'm
I mean,
not gonna lie.
I ain't mad at it.
And look at that. Now we just need some cheese.
Yep.
Cheese really is just a plain, if you really think about it. Depending on
So
what kind of cheese you like.
yeah, so what I would like in a perfect world, what I'd love to do is we would have the cheese would be like an American slice, right? So it's square. But then I want the edges to drip over the side. So in my mind, what I would get is I would have, let's say, a plane. Now I've got this plane, and I'm gonna move this up to like here-ish. Where's a good? Okay, so now it's visible.
Perfect.
Okay, and then I would want that to be, let's just make it yellow, right? So we're gonna get
The
our.
quickness.
How do I get? That looks
Charlie
very.
Devs is already calling it out. Is there?
Looks
There
green.
is. It definitely looks green. It could be the orange playing tricks on us. It kind of giving me highlighter yellow.
Highlighter yellow is a good, it's a good American cheese color. That definitely feels green. What is happening? Am I doing something weird?
No, I don't think you are. I think you were fine. I don't. I think it's the reflection off of the material of the
Oh,
burger
like the
of
lights.
the meat.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I think it's the lighting that's causing that effect. If we don't want the lighting effect, what we can that's some big cheese. Cheese.
So we probably want it
Okay,
about like
perfect.
this, right? Like that's about roughly
Mm-hmm.
what the size would be, and then I want to drip these edges.
Mm-hmm. So we could try this. I feel like it might not work the way I want it to, but we
Okay.
can go into edit mode. Perfect. And you already knew that you need to click on the thing. We probably want to need to add more lines. You'll
Hmm.
notice like if we try to move just the vertice, like go ahead and try to move it down. You can do G, Z.
No.
You'll notice like that all of it's moving down.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah.
really want to do that.
Right.
We probably need more lines. Before we do this, press O for me so we can remove the proportional editing. Just for a
Done.
second. Perfect. And now let's right click on our cheese.
Right click on the cheese.
Mm-hmm. And you'll see subdivide. This was going to add more lines to us. It's the very first one. And so it's going to add more lines here. And you can add a ton of them. We should be seeing them, but I don't know if I do.
Do I have all of it selected or just the? I think I only had the one vertices. So let me try again. There we go.
Oh,
There's a
you'll
bunch.
okay, now it's working. Perfect. So we want probably a lot.
Okay, so yeah, let's go to like 10. That seems to be where it's stopping me.
That should be fine.
We'll go over here. Maybe do the same
Oh, okay.
thing.
Wait, can you undo this?
Yes. Okay.
So this is important. Right now you're in vertex mode. So between the two vertices at any given line, that's what's doing the editing. Let's do a face instead. So right now you can only click on vertice, but we want the face because we want faces to droop down.
Yeah.
So at the top next to edit mode, you'll see there's a point, a line. Sorry, yeah, that's the one, and a
Face.
face. We
Okay.
want to be in face mode, and now do subdivisions.
Okay.
Because this is what I was expecting. Is like all these little squares to pop up, and we want these squares because that's going to help tell Blender like, oh, there's more geometry to pay attention to.
Got
And
it.
now we should be good to go. And you
Okay.
can do different types of cuts if you wanted to. And now let's press the number 1. That takes us to vertex mode. It's quick,
Got it.
quick, easy thing. And if we want to droop it down, we need to go click one of the vertex and let's do proportional editing. So we'll press O
Got it.
and then we'll droop it down. So do G and then Z.
Okay, so it's kind of doing what we want. And then we would
Let's
want.
turn the proportional editing down a little bit. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Whoa, what have I just done? Okay, so what did I just? So I just
So
started
this is
using panning mode. So I'm like narrowing the.
Mhm.
Ooh. Now oh look,
basically
now
how much effects.
Hey.
So this is the effect of like the proportional editing. If you want more things to be affected by the proportional editing, the circle gets bigger. If you want the circle to be smaller, that's the effect. So that's kind of what
very cool. Okay.
you're getting a little droop effect for.
Got it. Okay. So that feels.
And so you
Okay, so now
do
what
that
I
with
can.
all the other ones if you want, or you can move things a little into.
Yeah, so I'd want this kind of moved in, and then maybe I want to select all of these.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll move. Oh, let's get this one too. And then we'll move all of those kind of back in like this, right? And then got a little bit of an issue here. So
we can cover it up if you'd like. I have some tricks for that.
Oh, I can definitely. Yeah, let me just get out of this then. I'll undo that. All right.
Okay.
And maybe
So
maybe we'll just droop one of these.
We can make it all work. So
Okay.
cheese is usually not this thin. cheese is usually a little thicker. So sometimes you might want to add something, but you don't want to destructively do it, meaning like you don't want to overwrite what was originally there. So what
Sure.
we're going to do is we're going to go into the little wrench, the blue wrench to the
Here.
side. Perfect. That's going to add a modifier. Modifiers change our geometry to look a certain way, but non-destructively. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a little skin modifier on it. So under generate, it's the skin. Oh, actually, sorry, not skin. Let's undo that. It's a beautiful cheeseburger. It's beautiful.
That's
let's undo that.
okay.
We can click the X button next to it. Perfect.
Right,
Let's go back to modifiers. And not skin, solidify. Sorry, that's my bad. That's the one I wanted. Because it gives it a little bit more of a solid look. And so instead of the thickness being 0.01 meters inside of there, we're going to increase the thickness a little bit. So inside of the modifier tab, again, you'll see there's a thickness control. You can make it thick. But we want to go the opposite direction. So the offset needs to not be -1, but rather 1 instead. So under thickness, there's offset. And we just turn that to 1.
Oh, I got it. Okay, so then I want to go back out here, and we'll go to a positive.
And then we got a thick cheese.
Yeah. All right. And so then I made this concave by mistake. And if I want that to be out, is there like a not an innie and outie button?
You're gonna have to move the vertex. So we're gonna you're done. You're done. You're done. You're done.
So what would make this really easy for me is if I could take this. Oops, no, I want to go here and here. If I could take this one and this one, right, and I could add a line between them, because that would flatten it out, right?
I think so. Let's try. Oh my god, I just forgot. I forgot it. Oh my god,
like connect?
I forgot what it is. Let's try that.
Would it be path or pairs?
Oh, I don't. I really don't
try
know.
It.
Oh my
gosh.
Yeah, it seems like it's worked.
Yeah, it looks like it looks like it did what we want. So let's go back to what was
solid. Or if you want, you can material preview.
Solid. Okay, that's closer to what we wanted. You know what? That's
looking pretty cheesy.
Yeah, right. Like this, it's not perfect, but it's getting closer. So I'll accept it. We can
slightly move some of the other ones, and then we can say this is our burger.
Yeah. Is there any way to like duplicate this across all 4 corners?
No.
Okay. So I want to do Z, and then we want to go into this mode, right? And then I want to connect these.
Not without a mirror modifier, but I don't know if we can mirror all of it. No, probably not. So, oh, wow, yeah. Look at you.
One of these and one of these, and then it was J. Oh yeah, look at this. Here we go.
Yeah, look at you. Shortcuts.
Okay.
See, this is now I would admit to the learning path as well. Is like you just kind of learn something and you're all of a sudden like, I'm gonna use this technique when I need to solve this type of problem. That is definitely the Blender way.
Troop.
Look at you.
Okay, so that was definitely more what I was after. So this is not perfect by any means, but it gives us a little bit of a droopy cheesy boy. At which point I can go to object mode, and then I'm going to copy, then I'm going to paste, and then I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go on the y-axis only, right?
Ooh,
and now I want to do my next trick, which is to rotate this 45 degrees, which I don't know how to do.
And you can do, so you can press R to rotate.
R. Oh, not that way.
You probably want to rotate it along the Z-axis. So you want to rotate Z, and then you can type 45.
No way. Ha Perfect. Okay.
And so Blender lets you do all these modifications with numbers as well. So like that, it stacks all these things together.
So this is wonderful. I mean, like this is definitely I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we're coming up on time here, so we should probably call this a good stopping point and look at resources. But this is so much more of a 3D rendering than I thought I would pull off in a first session. Like I really did think that we were gonna get like, here's the square and we've got some lights on it, and oh look, we made it look like plastic. We made it look like rock or something. But this is
No, we
like,
made a burger.
yeah, and we could pass this off. This could be a fun way of doing like a low poly burger. You know, you could I
Exactly.
could put this somewhere and I wouldn't be sad. Nobody'd look at this and go, you know, oh, that's a work of art, but it's also not a burger. Oh,
Yeah.
this is a good question from Nanook. Can you make the cheese more fluid so it reacts to other objects? That's a good question, because I feel like I've seen something in Blender where you can kind of take like one thing and put it on top of another thing, and it sort of uses that mesh to shape it. Is that like is there just a button for that, or is that sort of like a more advanced technique?
I would say, so in my mind, I'm thinking of like the shrink wrap technique. There is like a modification that says shrink wrap it, but my worry is that it will literally shrink wrap so much that it will like take the
Um,
cheese and put it underneath the patty. But there are some mechanics that lets you kind of bend it a little bit more. I think to do it more organically, you have to do a little bit of hand editing.
mhm.
So I think the way that we did it probably gives us the best effect without having to do too much.
Got it. So it sounds like there are maybe some things we could have done to make it look more fluid before we start hand tweaking, but we're gonna need some hand tweaking to make this work the way
Yeah.
we want. Okay,
And I
that
think
makes
that's
sense
for
to
the
me.
most part in Blender, that will happen quite a bit where you'll get like 80% of the way there, and then you have to do a little bit of hand tweaking just to get it the right way you want it.
And I feel like that's probably a reasonable thing to expect, right? Like this is art. The
Yeah,
computer's not going to
absolutely.
do the whole thing for you. And so,
Exactly.
you know, you can get something that feels very like what's that Dire Straits music video? What's the actual song called? It's like Money for Nothing. Like I Want My MTV. I can't remember what the name of the song is actually, but like they
Oh,
did the whole videos in 3D, and it's just very like blocky and like low poly 3D. And so we can get that sort of thing done.
mhm.
But if we want it to start feeling more organic, we want it to start feeling more personal, then you got to put that extra time in to do the work of
Exactly.
manually tweaking.
Exactly.
Prince, this is fun. This is really really cool. What anything given our like 4 remaining minutes? Is there anything else that you want to look at, or do you want to start pointing at resources?
I think we can point at resources. My very last thing, and the most important thing we forgot to do, somebody pointed out in the chat a while back, is we never saved.
Oh yeah.
The one thing that we want to do is we want to make sure to save. Because, like I mentioned, Blender could crash on us at any point today when
Mm-hmm.
we were streaming camera stuff and also blendering and just in general. It could have just been like, nope, you're not going to be saving today. Definitely want to save your files and save regularly.
Okay, I'm gonna
We
save
have
this
a
here.
beautiful little burger.
I'll probably put this somewhere that we can link as a because if I save this, anybody with Blender could access the file and open it and play with it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so I'll put this in Dropbox, and we'll make that like the demo link for the show today. So if anybody wants to get Blender and get this burger and play with it and show me how you would do the cheese better, so because it also kind of now it kind of looking at it
Oh.
this way, I'm also seeing, I'm like, this also sort of looks like a little robo crab that you would see in a video game, right? With its little pointy flappers. So
I
I want
love
to, yeah.
that.
So I want to see what y'all are going to do with Blender. Take this burger, make it better, put the toppings you want on it, and show me how you make your perfect burger. Prince, where should people go if they want to learn more about Blender?
I feel like there's a variety of resources all over. The way that I learned Blender is actually through different YouTubers, and kind of just practicing a little bit. Wait, if you play that song, okay. I was about to say, I
Oh
was
yeah, I'm
like,
like, I'm
oh,
not
we're
going to get a
getting
DMCA
into
takedown here. I just wanted to make sure it was linked for the show notes since we talked about it.
Perfect. But like across YouTube, there's a variety of different YouTubers that are doing Blender. A lot of people talk about Blender Guru, but I do think that they kind of go really further in depth into things. Another person has a Polygon Runway. Please no, we're not going to do Blender Guru. We're going to do Polygon Runway.
Got it.
Polygon
Polygon Runway.
Runway has uh, a set of courses that are paid, but there is actually a free resource that they have that is learn illustration in 1 hour under shop courses. If you go into it, click on shop courses at the top there, and then scroll to the bottom. On the top, the bottom left there, there's, oh, you just passed.
Oh, here we go.
That one,
Here.
yeah. Become a 3 illustrate in 1 hour. This is the first course that I use. They talk about the different shortcuts as well. And I find that really valuable because it first made me aware that there are artists that just do low poly, that do these kind of like very just like square shape based kind of voxel perspective. And I really like it because it kind of takes the burden of like making these 3D human-esque, like real life looking things. You kind of play around and have a little bit more fun as well.
Yeah. And I like,
it's free.
I like it when you take detail out because it lets you play with like concept before you have to make it look perfect, which I really exactly. Enjoy that. But yeah, this is fun. So lots of paid options if you want to go deeper. It looks like this is some pretty, you've got like some low-ish poly stuff that looks a little more like designed. 3D lettering is very cool, and then like this character looks really intense, which is super fun. And then now all the way down here, you've got some really intense stuff, which is also very fun, like neon lights and things. So lots of fun going on in here.
Exactly. This creator also has plenty of stuff on YouTube that is accessible if you're interested in animations. Polygon Runway is on YouTube the same way.
Let's
and so they have a variety of different things that they do. Yeah.
Polygon Runway. Let's find their YouTube channel. We'll drop that. Here it is. So here is, stop this so that, there we go. Okay. So yeah, lots of resources there. And I know you also post a lot of your work in progress. You're kind of learning in public on that, which is one of my favorite things about you, is you share your work. Anywhere else that you want people to check out?
I think just like really, there's just a lot of things out there. Everyone has a different way to doing their art. And the most important thing, I think, is just like learning the mechanics and like giving yourself a little bit of grace. Like today we made a little burger and we learned how to just make it fun. And I think that's what my advice to you to end this off is, like, make it fun for yourself. Don't be like, oh, I'm not good enough for it. Because I felt like that was the thing that trapped me really hard when I first started learning Blender. But really just enjoy making something and like accept that you have to make a lot of things before you start really enjoying the way that it comes out. But like, have fun with it at the end of the day, doing something you like a burger.
Yeah, I really do think, the goal for this stuff is like, make it playful, right? Like if you're having fun, you're more willing to stick through the frustrating bits of like, oh, what is this button, right? If you treat it like a chore or like a job that you don't enjoy, like you're gonna make any excuse to not do it, right? So like, find a way to make it fun, make it silly. I think that's definitely, it's such a life hack. Okay, so with that, we are out of time. So let me do one more shout out. We've got Diane from White Coat Captioning today doing all the live captioning for us. Thank you so much. That's made possible by our sponsors, Netlify, NX, and Backlight, all kicking in to make this show more accessible to more people. Make sure you go and give Prince a follow at Maxell on Twitter. With that, I think, let me show the schedule. We got a couple fun things coming up. So we are going to, let's see, this one is actually going to be rescheduled. So on Thursday, we're going to do a solo. I'm going to see if I can get that real-time thing I was trying to build working. And I've already done the CSS, so I can't waste the whole episode on CSS this time. Watch me prove that wrong. And then we are next week going to have Sunil Pai come on and talk about edge computing. I'm super, super excited about that. Lots and lots of good stuff coming up. A lot of things that I have not yet put into the schedule as well. Just make sure you click these buttons, follow on Twitch, add on Google Calendar. You can, I think we've got an RSS feed now, like lots of good ways for you to get information on what's coming up on the show so that you can come hang out. Because it's fun. It's fun to hang out. It's fun to be friends. Prince, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Any parting words for the chat?
I hope that you all get to do fun and exciting things that you enjoy. And I'm really thankful to have the space to share something that I'm really interested with all y'all. So
yeah, it's always a blast to have you around. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You are Anthropomorphive sunshine. It is so much fun to spend a little bit of time with you. Thanks, y'all, for hanging out. We are going to go find someone to raid, and we will see you next time.
Bye, y'all.